informational warfare for the entire future of the planet. They've already got life extension technologies. They've already got free energy, and they know that Russia and China are about to get them too. And then once Earth gets free energy, which has already been proven, it's over. The wars are over, unlimited expansion. Our biggest problem is going to be deciding whether we want to, quote, merge with machines and pretend we're immortal. And, you'll be a new creature. You'll be a new species, but will you be what we were? This is really childhood's end. We're having to decide the whole future of our destiny. And the globalists don't want a big public debate about that destiny. But Elon Musk just told them at the World Government Forum last year. Oh, World Government Forum. Remember, that didn't exist. Now it's out in the open. He said, your system will fail. You can't have a centralized system. You're the real threat to humanity, not us. And we've got to empower humanity. And we've got to let people have decisions about this. So Musk, and I've interviewed him and talked to him quite a bit, and he's on the same page. And he understands this now and is saying, I'm with you. I don't want to be part of the technocracy, even though he's heavily in it. Musk, and I've interviewed him and talked to him quite a bit, and he's on the same page. And he understands this now and is saying, I'm with you. I don't want to be part of the technocracy, even though he's heavily in it. He's saying people have the opportunity to do this stuff if they want, but we're not going to make people do it, is the point. And we're sure as hell not going to cut the resources off and cut off the fossil fuels and all the rest of it. So he said that'll kill billions of people, which it will. So, someone like Musk can listen to me, and he has these pieces, is obviously smarter than I am. He goes, no, that's true. I told him a month ago with Tucker Carlson, I said, they're going to try to kill you next. You're just as important as Trump. I said, they're going to try to kill Trump. We're going to play that clip today on my show. I said, they're going to try to kill Trump, and they're going to try to kill Elon Musk, and both of them better up their security and better watch their back. And Elon Musk retweeted and said, I think you're right. I am going to up my security. So I'm just saying, listen, folks, this is real. I'm not being alarmist. I know this sounds like science fiction because you're in the year 2024, and the technology the globalists have suppressed is in 2050. All right, 2050 at least. They're at least 25 years ahead of what you're being shown, and they've decided it's too dangerous. That's another reason they want to depopulate. Is they actually have decided AI is too dangerous and that it's going to get out of control. So they want to have a new dark age, basically, where they keep technology sequestered for themselves, but then the general public isn't given any of it. And then, like a reservation, the globalists have bragged about this. Jeff Bezos and others have been honest about it. Earth is going to be like a national park or a nature preserve that'll have some small settlements of humans, so the globalists can come down from their space bases and they can come see us and go be in a village for a month and see the primitive humans and live like that if they want. And then they're going to go back up to their space bases, and they're also going to have some city-states, big command bases that are all walled off. So, and you go, well, that's Hunger Games. Well, they're not copying Hunger Games. Hunger Games is a reflection of someone that's done the research, is actually telling you with predictive programming what their plan is. They actually are going to build the Hunger Games. That, you read the UN World Government plans, you read all the stuff their futurists are saying, they have agreed on a Hunger Game plan. But it's not like where there's just, the districts in America. Well, why are there just districts here? Because they nuked everybody else and killed everybody. Okay, so, I mean...
I actually very much subscribe to the depopulation, and I believe that there is an agenda to depopulate, and you predicted that as well. I'm taking a quick break here to cut to one of our sponsors, because then I want to talk parenthood. According to a recent report, Planned Parenthood born, you are off the keyword baby. Now back to our conversation. Okay, Alex, so I went down, fortunately, actually, I was vax injured when I was 20, woke me up to vaccines. I realized they're lying about everything. Everyone thinks it began with COVID, and I produced a series to wake people up and let them know that changing diagnostic definitions, what they told you, the belief that everybody was going to die unless you gave them your bodily autonomy. Well, people saw that during COVID. They saw the government lie in real time. They saw people get injured with myocarditis in teenagers, and then they saw the media try to pretend that all of this was normal. And so people are awake now to that conversation about vaccines. And so I will ask you, because you spoke about this, I think in 2002, I mean, unbelievably, we're talking about a vaccine depopulation agenda. Can you tell me where you got that information way back when and what you think about that now?
Well, again, Candace, 99% of this is all public information. There was a book on my parents' bookshelf. There were a bunch of books about the population bomb and books by Paul Ehrlich, books by a whole bunch of globalists. And I just grew up seeing these books. I became a really avid reader by the 5 or 6, started reading adult books by 8, 9, 10. And so I read Paul Ehrlich's books. And in the books, he says we're going to put chemicals into vaccines that attack the fertility. It won't sterilize 100% of people, so folks won't notice it first, and we'll just increase the amount of toxins in it. He talked about how fluoride was reducing fertility and lowering IQ and causing cancer, how great that was. And then he wrote the eco-science plan that was later adopted as the official plan for depopulation with John P. Holdren, who later became the White House science czar for Obama. But he wrote in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, he's still around, and John Stossel just exposed him, and Elon Musk retweeted it, so he got like 100 million views. And in that, he's right there saying in 1978, we're going to put images on TV undermining the family and making all men look dumb and make it look like women are in charge, not to help people, to break down society. And he goes, then we're going to, and so he's just up there, we're going to put chemicals in there, and they're going to sterilize you. And it's
secret texting hack nobody knows about.
I just found out that you can add a keyboard that's powered by ChatGPT directly to your phone, and it's changing my life. There is so much that it can do, including changing the tone of messages, check for...
And we're going to, and so he's just up there, we're going to put chemicals in there, and they're going to sterilize you. And it's not just him. It's Bertrand Russell. I read his books. He says that. Brave New World Revisited. It's nonfiction. Aldous Huxley, 1961, says that. And then you actually go read the UN plans. I mean, it's like replacement migration. It's an official UN world plan through UNESCO and through the Office of Resettlement, and it's an official treaty to flood the West with 680 million people by 2050 here, and 550 million in Europe by 2050. I mean, it's an official plan, and then you talk about it, and the ADL said you're a Nazi. Okay, so what I'm telling you is, I know all this because I've read their books. I mean, people can watch my film Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. It's 2.5 hours long. It's free. It had like 100 million views till he took it down off of Google Video and then off YouTube. But there's copies of it here and there. It's at band.video on my website. I posted on X when I first got back on. It got a few million views there. Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. And I show them saying we're going to have world government and we're going to sterilize you. And we're going to do it to you. And we're going to spray aluminum dioxide in the air. And we're going to control the weather. So it's like you're at Thanksgiving. And over at the big adult table, they're talking about, all this adult stuff. And we're like over here at the little kid table eating our macaroni and cheese. But I come over to the adult table. That's actually what I did when I was about, 6, 7 years old. I'm like, what are these adults talking about? This is really interesting. And I thought, I'm interested in this. I'm not interested in acting cool or reading comic books. I mean, I still like sports and girls, definitely. But, I mean, I was all about how do nuclear reactors work? How do atomic weapons work? How do hydrogen bombs work? How does energy work? How does physics work? Well, what are these agencies? Who are these groups? And I read probably 200 books on World War II. And I read Mein Kampf. And I read the writings of Julius Caesar and the Battle for Gaul. And I read Aristotle and Plato. And I got the sense. I mean, Plato said 2,200 plus years ago in his Republic, he said, we need to kill all the dumb people and only have smart people breed. They're crushing the breast of Mother Nature. And then Plato goes along into other Malthusians that he spawned, like Malthus. It was around 300 years ago. And then out of him, 180 years ago, comes Francis Galton. And Francis Galton's entire worldview of depopulation is adopted by the British Empire as their official policy. Is to develop systems and technologies to control the public. They said, discover what makes up the cells, discover how to control people. They said, we want you to invent computers. We want you to invent biometrics. We want devices that can scan someone and then tell us who they are and where they went. And so Galton and the top scientists in England said, we're going to... And then Plato goes along into other Malthusians that he spawned, like Malthus. It was around 300 years ago. And then out of him, 180 years ago, comes Francis Galton. And Francis Galton's entire worldview of depopulation is adopted by the British Empire as their official policy. Is to develop systems and technologies to control the public. They said, discover what makes up the cells, discover how to control people. They said, we want you to invent computers. We want you to invent biometrics. As their official policy 300 years ago. And then out of him, 180 years ago, comes Francis Galton. and Francis Galton's entire worldview of depopulation is adopted by the British Empire as their official policy, is to develop systems and technologies to control the public. They said, discover what makes up the cells, discover how to control people. They said, we want you to invent computers. We want you to invent biometrics. We want devices that can scan someone and then tell us who they are and where they went. And so Galton and the top scientists in England said, we're going to envision things called computers and things called biometrics and things called, all of this. And then they, just like the British, what was it, 400 years ago? I'm not getting the exact date, said, we'll pay the equivalent of like $10 billion. I forget what the prize was. It was some huge amount, however many pounds of silver, tons of it. We will pay you, tons of silver if you can invent a clock that is accurate down to a few seconds and that can be stored and operate on a ship. And a year later, they had it. And they said, now if you can make it even smaller, we'll give you the money. And so they just learned with scientists, if they just gave them money, they could invent anything, because that's how powerful humans are. And so now you've just got trillions going into cloning and weapons and free energy, but now the globalists have all these giant underground warehouses of just all this incredibly fabulous stuff, and it's just beyond science fiction. And they're like, we're not going to give this to all these people. We're just going to kill them. And so that's what they've decided to do. And if we get a Trump in there and he says he's going to declassify a bunch of this stuff, and he's trying to find out about it himself, they're like, we're not going to give the public that. And so that's what this is. Trump wants a
and I do want to say, so what you're talking about is basically the independent pursuit of knowledge, and I've recently also been using my platform to speak out against birth control because it's all right there. So the problem is that what's running parallel to what they're trying to do scientifically is what they're doing psychologically. And so they have a permanent class of people sitting 6 hours a day, and they are, by the time they come out of the public school system, they are so deluded, and they believe everything that they learned as a token of their education. Birth control is good. I mean, I showed on my show, they were never lying about their intentions with birth control. I mean, they even named it birth control. I mean, this was all about eugenicism. It was all about making sure that people were infertile. They were experimenting on Africans. I used real sources to show them every birth control does this.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like there's one that was good.